The first hedgehog on this list, Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog is a fast, confident, and adventurous hero who thrives on freedom and action. He has a strong sense of justice and is always ready to stand up against evil, especially when it comes to protecting his friends and the world from threats like Dr. Robotnik. Sonic can be impatient and a bit impulsive, often rushing into situations without overthinking them, but his courage and optimism usually help him succeed. He values independence and dislikes being controlled, which is reflected in his rebellious, carefree attitude. Despite his cocky streak, he is loyal and compassionate, showing that beneath his energetic and competitive nature, he genuinely cares about others. Shadow the Hedgehog stands out in the Sonic series because he's got this really layered personality. You know, not just good or bad. He got made as the ultimate life form by this scientist, Professor Gerald Robotnik, up on the space colony Ark. The whole point was to help cure Gerald's granddaughter Maria, who was sick and dying. So even though Shadow ends up acting tough later, it all started from something hopeful like that, trying to save someone. That changes quick though. Maria gets killed in a raid by the government on the Ark, and it messes Shadow up bad. That's the big trauma thing for him. In some stories he wants revenge on people, but then there's Maria's wish, which was more about giving folks a shot at happiness. I think in Sonic Adventure 2 he kind of figures that out and decides not to blow everything up, honoring what she wanted instead. Hez not like Sonic at all. Sonic is all fun and free, running around without a care. Shadow is serious, keeps to himself, always on some mission. He doesn't go looking for friends, but if he cares about something, he's loyal to the end, even if it means doing crazy stuff to protect it. It seems like that distance makes him harder to get, but it's part of what draws you in. Sometimes he's hard to pin down morally. Not a straight hero, not really a villain either. He just follows his own rules, teams up when it fits his goals. Over the games, he turns more into this anti-hero type, saving the world his way, which can be rougher than Sony. Silver the Hedgehog. He's from the future in the Sonic series. And I think Hez the best one because of how Hez all about hope and trying to change bad stuff that's coming. Unlike Sonic, who just runs around in the now and cares about being free, Silver deals with this wrecked world ahead, and it makes him super serious about stopping it. That mission shapes who he is, gives him this drive that's different. His whole thing with optimism stands out, even when everything Hez seen is so dark and ruined. He keeps believing that you can fix the past or whatever to make the future better, and that pushes him to act, even if it's tough or not totally clear right and wrong. It seems like that makes him more of an idealist than guys like Sonic or others. But yeah, it also leaves him open to getting tricked by people who say they know how to save things. Compassion is a big part of him too. He's not in it for the fun or speed like Sonic, or all that inner stuff like Shadow has. Silver just wants to help people and build a better place, you know. And his powers, like psychokinesis, fit that. He uses them in smart ways, not just smashing everything, which kinda matches how he thinks things through more. Early stories show him being a bit naive, jumping in based on what Hez heard, because Hez desperate about his future. But he grows from that, starts questioning info, and realizes saving the world takes more than knocking out one bad guy. That learning part adds some real depth, shows his strength. Amy Rose stands out in the Sonic series because Shez got this mix of feelings and grit that keeps her interesting. Shez cheerful and full of energy most of the time. And yeah, Shez really into Sonic. But that doesn't cover everything about her. It seems like people sometimes just see her as the one chasing him around. But there's way more going on. Her love for Sonic drives a lot of what she does, but it's not the only thing. Over the games, she starts wanting to do her own thing, prove she can handle stuff without relying on him. She doesn't have that crazy speed like Sonic or the tough edge of Shadow, but she pushes through with this stubborn kind of courage. The Pico Pico hammer is her thing, and it shows how she takes something basic and swings it hard because she's determined. I think her empathy is what really makes her shine in the group. She's the one who believes in everyone. Even when they're doubting themselves or acting all serious, she spots the good side in people and tries to pull it out, which balances out the more intense characters. That kindness doesn't make her soft, though. When things get rough, she steps up bold and fierce, so her caring side ties right into her strength. In the earlier stories, Amy comes off pretty focused on Sonic, maybe too much. But as the series goes on, she gets more independent, takes on leadership roles, fights for what matters even if he's not there. She wants to be her own hero, not just tag along. That emotional side of hers adds. Metal Sonic is an incredibly menacing and psychologically compelling foe within the realm of Sonic the Hedgehog. Created by the evil genius Dr. Eggman, Metal Sonic was made to be an unparalleled counterpart to Sonic, meant to rival him in speed, and ultimately to best Sonic at all levels. Unlike most of his metallic contemporaries, Metal Sonic develops over time a sense of self as well as an understanding of the idea of superiority. He has come to believe he is Sonic's true replacement, or in the least case, the superior Sonic. This notion creates an eerie dichotomy, since Sonic embodies freedom, emotion and individuality versus Metal Sonic, who epitomizes an emotionless, mechanical, artificial replacement of those very same attributes that lacks true reference or understanding of them. At first he appears as a quiet and unemotional person, yet the manner in which he goes about his operations displays a level of arrogance and pride. An example is demonstrated when he attempts to betray Dr. Eggman and seize command. In that instance, Metal Sonic transitions from being a mere instrument of Dr. Eggman's power into a legitimate character, one summoned into being by his own drive for conquest. This transformation elevates. Mephiles the Dark is one of the most sinister and unsettling villains in the Sonic the Hedgehog, largely because he represents pure manipulation, intelligence, and malice rather than raw Klua alone. He originates from the ancient being Solaris, a godlike entity split into two parts, with Mephiles embodying its mind and darkness, while the other half, Iblis, represents its destructive power. What makes Mephiles especially dangerous is his personality. Unlike loud or over-the-top villains, he is calm, calculating, and eerily composed. He rarely shows anger or panic, and instead prefers to manipulate others into doing his work for him. He studies people's weaknesses and uses their fears, doubts, and desires against them. This is most clearly seen in how he influences Silver the Hedgehog, convincing him that killing Sonic the Hedgehog is the only way to save the future. Mephiles doesn't force Silver. He guides him, twisting his good intentions into something dangerous. Another defining trait of Mephiles is his lack of empathy or morality. He doesn't seek power for pride like Dr. Eggman, nor does he have a tragic backstory that drives him like Shadow the Hedgehog. He exists simply to reunite with Iblis and restore Solaris, even if it means destroying time, reality, and all life. This makes him feel less like a person and more like a force of darkness with a clear, terrifying purpose. Mephiles also stands out because of his connection to identity and form. He takes on a Scourge? That green hedgehog is basically Sonic if you stripped away all the good stuff and left just the raw ego. Comes from this flipped world, Mebius, where heroes turn villains and vice versa. Kinda wild how that setup twists everything Sonic fights for into something ugly. Back when they called him Anti-Sonic, he was mostly a punk causing minor headaches. Not a big deal yet. But then he grabs some real power, ditches the old name, and boom, turns into this full-on menace. More cocky, way more brutal. The guy starts seeing himself not just as Sonic's rival, but as the one who should run the show, bossing everyone around. Thing is, he's got all of Sonic's tricks, that insane speed, the sharp attitude. Without the part where you care about right and wrong. Sonic runs free to help folks out. Scourge? He dashes around wrecking things, hurting whoever's in the way, just because he can. Chaos feeds him. He scares people into following, builds a crew, not for friendship, but to keep them under his thumb. From what I've read in those comics, It's clear he picks allies he can push around. His drive isn't some grand scheme or belief system. Nah, it's all about feeling superior. Power tastes good to him, plain and simple, especially beating Sonic at his own game. That makes Scourge tricky to pin down. Half the time, he's acting on a whim, puffed up with pride, needing to show who's top dog. No real plan, just that urge to dominate. But dig a little, and you see the cracks? Sonic looks a lot like Sonic, but he's no thrill seeker zooming through loops. From what I've seen in those Archie comics, this guy's the multiverse's watchdog. He polices zones, parallel worlds, basically to keep everything from tipping into chaos. Duty drives him, not some wild chase for fun. Sonic jumps on gut feelings and fights for what's right in the moment. Sonic? He sticks to rules that hold the whole setup together. Disturbances between dimensions pull him in, and he steps up only when the scales wobble bad enough to risk everything. The real kick comes from how he stacks up against guys like Scourge. That green hedgehog's all about wrecking things for his own gain, pure mess. Sonic flips it. He's order personified, structured and steady, no grabs for power. He hangs back unless lines get crossed, the kind that ripple out to screw over realities. Quiet pro, that's him. Acts when he has to, not a second sooner. Calm fits him like a glove. Observant, too, always scanning for the fallout others miss. Distant vibe? Sure, but it's not ice. Just him weighing the big view, beyond one world or crew. Decisions hit based on multiverse needs, even if it means staying out of the fray. Responsibility over heartstrings, every time. You'd think a Sonic clone would crave adventure. Nope. Sonic proves what happens when duty molds the mold. Same blue look, wildly different path. Stands out sharp because of that, even if he pops up less than the stars. Kind of makes you wonder, Manic and Sonya, those Hedgehog siblings from Sonic Underground, ended up worlds apart from Sonic right after they were born. Separated early on, their upbringings carved out totally different vibes for each of them. Take Manic.
Try not to be late.
He hit the streets young, scraping by in tough spots that turned him sharp and quick on his feet. But yeah, that life made him jump into things without much pause, always eyeing the fast escape or whatever shortcut worked. Early episodes show him swiping stuff here and there, nothing major, just survival mode. Still, deep down he's got this solid sense of right and wrong, and he'd back his brother and sister no matter what. What I like about his arc is how he starts loosening up that skepticism, figuring out that sticking it out for the bigger fight actually pays off. His chill sarcasm cuts through the group's intensity, and it makes him the one you relate to most, raw and real. Sonya's story flips that script. Spoiled in fancy circles, she came out polished, sure of herself. Maybe a touch stubborn at times, manners and looking put together, that's her jam. And she likes tackling problems with a solid plan, keeping things orderly. Don't get me wrong though, she's no airhead. Brave to the core, she cares deeply and throws herself into toppling that tyrant regime without hesitation. At first, her polished way's great against Manic's gritty style. Think arguments over his messy habits. But those clashes, they end up strengthening the team, teaching H. If you like this video, like and subscribe for more Sonic lore deep dives and explainer style of videos.